A couple of years ago, I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I heard these horrible noises.
I could hear this grunting coming up the steps, which turned out to be Eric. But I was talking to Lori on the phone, and I didn't know if he had been burnt or just what had happened because his face was covered with blood.
And he had fallen off the ladder. We didn't know what had happened to him at the time.
I couldn't quite reach a bolt I was working on, so I kind of, instead of crawling down the ladder and moving it like I should have, I was kicking it sideways, and the next thing I knew, I was coming down fast.
His injuries were everywhere. He had fallen on his head, so he had broken his eye socket both under and crushed it above, and he had dislocated his shoulder and broke his collarbone and broke some ribs, broke his thumb, dislocated his hip, and he had massive head injuries. He couldn't walk, talk, anything. He wasn't in a coma, but he was absolutely lifeless.
I had no idea how bad he was, but I heard them talking at the hospital that they were going to get stars to take him to Calgary.
The nurses had told my sister and I we should make funeral arrangements. It was that bad. And they led us to believe that, you know, if he lived, it probably wouldn't be that productive of a life. You know, they didn't lead us to have much hope for his recovery at all.
He was very childlike, which we were prepared for that, but, well, you're never prepared to see an active person suddenly go downhill. But he couldn't do much for himself, and I was afraid to leave him alone, and also his days and nights were mixed up, so I never knew if he was going to go outside during the night, or I just didn't know what he might do, so it was quite a stressful time for the whole family, actually.
Well, my dad started taking EMPowerplus at about the same time that I started giving it to my children. I had heard of it, and especially with behavioral problems, and I have two boys that had difficulty sitting through school, paying attention. It was just always a struggle for them.
Since he started on the EMPowerplus, he has just improved tremendously.
And he used to feel very frustrated because he couldn't find the words he wanted to tell you things. He couldn't read. He couldn't even be interested in a movie because he couldn't follow the storyline. It was just going too fast for him to soak it all in.
Now I've started reading more, which I didn't do for a long time. And it seems to be coming very easy now. And watching TV and stuff like that now holds more of an interest than it did before.
I think life with him is much like it always was, but now he does what I tell him more than he used to. And
I'm sure I feel smarter anyway.